Hey guys, it's Mediell by Craft Vanguard deck profile, so hope you guys enjoyed. Don't like, comment, subscribe, I'm so sorry. This time we're covering DZLM Set 1 Mediell. So Mediell, I'm pretty sure when it first came out, I was very clear that Mediell was my least favorite of the Lyrical ride lines and probably was my most hated. And then we got the news that they were going to get support, and I didn't like the art of the new grade 3 that much, so I didn't really care for it. Then it was the first one revealed, and it just so happened to be the day that I was on vacation, and then I learned how good that grade 3 was, or I thought it was interesting. Then I played a first game with it, and the very first game that I literally said, I'm just going to go off the basis of pure instinct, and if it works, it works. And then it worked, and then I sat there for 5 minutes in pure and utter disbelief of what I just did. So let's go and get the start, shall we see what we got, because this deck is... I don't love it, but I definitely don't hate it anymore, that's for sure. It's a love-hate thing with this. Anyway, first we have a ride deck crest, our energy generator. Remember ride deck crest in your ride deck, auto ride deck. When you ride, put this card into your crest zone. If you would second energy charge 3, contains from up to 10 energies, and auto beginning of your ride phase, energy charge 3, then act once per turn, energy plus 7, draw a card. So, you know, you get your 3 free energy every turn, and then if you win second, you get an extra 3, and then, you know, in strategies or in decks that don't use up energy blast that much, this deck has a little bit of an energy user, but it like depends. If you draw it, then you draw it, but if you don't draw it, then you can use this energy blast 7 to draw a card. So a nice way to help increase the hand, or at least have an alternate way to have resource. So obviously this is our red deck crest. Then we have our starter, 2 work harder Mediell. I forgot to check all of their names, but I'm pretty sure most of them are the same. Grid Zone Boost, 5k shield, escape base, honorable harm for second draw card, standard starter, no special free draw if you go second. You can really make this any starter you want. Another ride line really requires this, but I mean, again, follow the theme and like, why not? So one of her in the ride deck. Then we have our triggers. We're on our overtrigger greatest star or stanza, Grid Zone Boost, 50k shield, 5k power, overtrigger in your deck. When reviewed, as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose a mute. It cannot be hit to, I'm getting my units confused. I was doing the PG. When revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets what's movement for the turn, and if you hit it during a draft check, activate its additional fight, which you get during this fight, you get during your turn. All your rear guards get plus 10,000 power. All around pretty solid, because the second you sack this, whether it's defensively or offensively, either someone's hitting that turn unless your opponent has a PG, or someone's not getting hit that turn unless your opponent has the ability to bypass the over. But on top of that, if you drove check this, for the rest of the game, your entire board is always going to have plus 10k, which is incredible, especially in a deck that can unleash 5 attacks, 4 of which having double criticals on your first grade 3 turn while your opponent's at grade 2. I guarantee you, if you flip this, like even if you flip it on your first grade 1 turn, hell, if you flip it on your grade 2 turn afterwards, before like you do all the aggressive stuff, automatically Estranza is going to basically win you the game. You can run Volna for consistent multi attack, and you can run the dark one that can heal and call, or you could run Asphorio for recycling, but I'd rather have Estranza because A, it's Lyrical Monasterio over, and also it's literally board presence on steroids, so one of Estranza. Then we have our normal triggers. Okay, if you've been watching my deck profile so far, you automatically know what these are going to be. I really don't know why it's like this. Like I said in I think the last deck profile that's going up should be Leafla. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's not laziness, because the decks were not like this before, meaning I instinctively chose or to like do the time to put these triggers in here. So I don't know why I'm doing that. Anyways, 2 of Transparent Snow Knight Bear Toy, 2 copies of Snow Skip Palvi, Grid Zone Boost, 50k shield, 4k power, Grid Zone Boost, 5k shield, and 4k power respectively. Bear Toy is a draw trigger, while Palvi is a front trigger, and they both share the same skill. Contains Guard Circle, every opponent's Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, plus 5,000 shield. So Bear Toy being a 10k shield is nice, and also a draw trigger, so it helps increase the hand, sees the units you want to see, especially because to do that play I just mentioned earlier, you're definitely going to want to see specific units, so Bear Toy being to hopefully drag them out quickly is nice. And then Palvi, well, when you have 4 attacks coming in at double critical, your opponent's probably going to guard the first 2 because they just want to take the bigger ones. So then when you sack a front, you make it a lot harder for them to have to guard them if they have to guard at least one of them. So 2 of Palvi for pressure, 2 of Bear Toy for hand power. Then of course we have 3 original style Ashuka, Great Zone Boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Makes any crit you want just to make it Ashuka because she's a war beast and Mediell's a war beast. And we have 4 copies of Pressure Tune Edward, Grade Zone Boost, 50k shield, 4k power, critical trigger, auto rear guard, about booster, push a soul, choose range to for the turn. Okay, as I've been saying in the last ones, you know that 2k is only going to make a good skill in very specific situations with very specific units. But because of how this deck works, weirdly enough, that crit has come in more helpful than normal. In fact, in this since I've played this deck, this entire time it's been used. The crit has been used more than its entire time of existing. So pretty solid. All around, we got 7 crits for the crit pressure, because if your rear guards are gonna have extra crits, might as well put the Vanguard having crit pressure on it too, because you know inherent draft check abilities. So 7 crits, 2 draws, 2 fronts, and then of course we have our free heals and Peaceful Guard and Anika. This surprised almost no one. Grid Zone Boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Make this whatever who you want. I just to make it Anika because This one's partially out of laziness, but also because Anika is like my favorite of the heal triggers. I mean, she is the one that I have proven that I have the most luck with, where I will consistently sack her if I need her to. There have been games, not just with this deck, but like other decks in general, where I will sack 3 Anikas in a row. Like there will be no cards interrupting them. It will go Anika, 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 and all 3 of them will go off. So yeah, I have reasons to run Anika at 4 outside of just like laziness. It's actually just my heal. You can run counter heals if you want. I just don't like their skills. Anika for me though. We move on to our grade 1s. First one, 4 copies RPG and Musical Committee Nicoline. Grade 1 boost, 0 Sosuke, basic continuous sentinel. You may only have 4 sentinels in deck, and also put a guard circle. Choose one of your use. It cannot be hit till in battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards in it, choose a card from your hand, discard it, standard PG. Nothing to specify. It basically means if this only one of the cards in your hand, place it on guard circle. You don't have to discard. Was great because that means you can be as aggressive as in the early game. We haven't hit our normal units yet, or we haven't hit our normal grade 1s yet, but these guys and everyone else over here. And then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you for being as aggressive as physically possible in the early game, Nicoline, you're safe, and then if they went first and they threw everything at you, you then proceed to do the combo I was talking about that involves her, and to some extent her, and automatically you kind of just bully your opponent either into submission or make it so that if they do live that turn, they're barely walking away alive. So 4 of Nicoline, very solid PG. You can pick any PG you want. It's just to make it Nicoline just because, I don't know, Nicoline's one of my favorite of the Lyrical Monasterio PGs. Then we have 4 copies of Aren't I Great to Be Attending Lyrical. I want to let this be clear. The day that I was on vacation was probably the 3 days I was on vacation was probably the one time that I genuinely took the time to go look at all the different cards just to see how to make the Mediell deck more appealing to me. And then I randomly ran across her. And then I tried the combo, and then the combo worked, and the combo worked a lot better than it should have. So Lyrical, who I would not have found if I didn't go on vacation, I know that for a fact. Grade 1 boost 5 Kishio Sasuke Base continues rear guard. If your Vanguard's a Hazeret or Mediell, when this unit is called, you get your trigger units on rear guard and in deck are treated as normal units instead until end of turn. That skill is so busted, considering that means this ability is guaranteed to go off. If you want to look at that ability, you can go ahead and pause the video and see it for yourself. Otherwise, we'll get to it later on discussing the BS combo you can do, assuming I remember to discuss the BS combo. But, yeah, cool. The best part about that is, too, if you pull them in your drive checks, they still activate their trigger effect, so you're just proccing off abilities that flip normal units. And then continues rear guard. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, Hazeret or Mediell, all your other rear guard and same combat sword get plus 5,000 power. Yeah, having restanders with double crit, who also get another 5,000 inherently, actually, are what, 15? And then do they get numbers from this one? They don't get numbers from, oh wait, no, they do get numbers from her if you have certain things and drop. So, like, 25k swingers, double crits while your opponent's at grade 2. Technically speaking, they'd be 20k swings with double crit while your opponent's at grade 2, but you get my point. 4 of Aren't I Great to Be Attending. She's just, I was going to try to make a pun on her name. I'm not even going to try. She's just good. Like, 5k to the unit in front of her while your front row is already getting at least 5k guaranteed, while also being able to guarantee that you're going to get the double crit BS. 4 of Lyrical. She's just an amazing grade 1, and I love her. Then we have 4 copies of Mythical Knight Luke Luna, grade 1 boost 5 Kishut, aka base auto when placed on rearguard circle. If you have a Vanguard with Mediell in its card name, Carbon Blast 1, Energy Blast 3, look at the top 7, choose up to 2 normals without Sentinel from among them, put 1 into the hand, send the other to drop, and then shuffle the deck. All around pretty solid. You're not mandatorily forced to put both in, or put 1 into your hand, so if you want to send both to drop because, hell, maybe you hit crit target, maybe you hit 5k target, you can just yeet them both into the drop zone, and then you're good. But to be fair, you're probably going to add one of them to hand just so you have ride deck fodder for the next turn. Either way, though, Luke Luna is just a very good grade 1. She procs regardless of what Mediell you're on, whether it's the grade 1, the grade 2, the grade 3, and because I always have to say this, the grade 0, if by some miracle of God you found a way to play her while you're on grade 0. And not to mention the fact, if you go second, well, you're not going to be able to proc her off on your first turn because, you have no CB. But when you get to grade 2, spend the energy you just got, Counter Blast 1, check top 7, get cards into your hand. All around, she's a very good card, sets up the drop zone, gets you possible ride deck fodder, allows you just to do a lot, so easy 4 of. Then we have our last grade 1 on the deck, 1 of in the red deck, and on the main deck of Sheltered Girl, the Pharmacy Mediell, grade 1 boost 5k shield, aka base, auto when wrote upon by a grade 2 card of Mediell and its card name, choose to 1 grade 2 as card from your drop zone, call it to rear guard. If you called a card, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a trigger, you rest the unit that's called by this effect. Oh, I thought it was supposed to call the unit. I like how that video's been out for a month and no one told me otherwise, but I know that for a fact because I remember specifically I called Edwidge from that skill and no one said shit. But anyways, cool. You either rest the unit that you called, or if it's not, then you just get to keep it on the board as stand, which means you get an extra attack. Either way, Mediell makes for a very solid grade 1. You don't have to run this, technically speaking. Like, there's probably optimal ride lines you could run, but I mean, you know, it's free rear guard to board, so one of her on the ride deck and on the main deck. Plus, I mean, you at least get to see if it's worth, what's it called? You at least get to see if you're going to pull triggers or not. So if you do lose the rear guard, well, you're pulling a trigger that drive check at least. So one of her on the ride deck. Then we have our grade 2s. 4 copies of Soulless, Lacrima Neon, grade 2 and a set 5k shield, 10k base. Autumn, she's placed on rear guard circle if you have Vanguard Mediell in the card name. Look at the top card, either put it to the top or put it to soul. If you put a card to soul, look at the top card again and return to the original spot after confirming it. This card is so interesting to me because regardless, it's free. You can play it from wherever, whenever. You can play during the battle phase, the end phase, your opponent's turn for that care. You can play from your hand, your deck, your drop zone, your damage zone, whatever. And it's literally going to proc up the same effect. You check the top card. If you want to keep it there because maybe it's a trigger or maybe it's something you want in hand or maybe it's something you want to damage check in case you do play it during your opponent's turn, you can keep it there. Or you can send it to soul because you soul boss it out thanks to these guys. And then you get to check the top card again. Granted, you got to put it back, but at least now you know what you're going to draw and or damage check or drive check next. Neon is such an interesting grade 2 because technically speaking, she looks at the top 2 for free and she can send one of them to soul. She's like Nitro Juggler from Pale Moon, except doesn't send it to bottom. She sends it to top and soul instead. Either way though, very good grade 2. I do like her a lot. I think she's very solid. Like, she's just a nice support card to have in case you ever, like, I mean, obviously like your other grade 2s are a lot better for the aggressive, but like she's amazing for consistency. So if you ever have the chance to call her, just call her and stack cards. So 4 of her, honestly, she just makes for a good grade 2. Then we have 4 copies of Like a Candy Kukrovi, grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base. Auto placed on rear guard circle if you Vanguard with Mediell on card name, look at the top card of your deck, put it to the top or discard it. If you discarded it, it gets 5,000 power for that turn. Armor pretty solid. The best part about this was when I was putting this deck together on the slides, I saved over the grade 2 that was originally here that had the exact same skill but was an act and cost a counter blast to do it. So you could do it more because this has to be an on plays, but in exchange you have to constantly pay CB. Kukrovi all around is a very solid grade 2 because, I mean, it's like Neon where you get to look at the top card and you can just choose not to send it to drop zone, meaning if it's a trigger you get to keep it there, but if you do choose to discard it, 15k, she can be played from wherever to do it. She can play regardless of what grade your Vanguard's at, so as long as you have the Mediell name, which all around makes Kruvi a good grade 2. You obviously have a specified grade 2 target you're going to have in front row, and most of the time, like, there's 2 grade 2s that are far more important than these 2, but if you ever have the chance to call them and you don't have these ones, it's not the end of the world. It just means you're not pulling off the combo, but you can still very much get far with, you know, deck stacking twice or getting a 15k or a trigger guaranteed on top. So 4 of Kukrovi, just a good grade 2 who does her job well. Then we have 4 copies of Heart Some Smile Nolia, grade 2 and set 5k shield, 10k base. Act rear guard if your Vanguard Mediell is card name. Shove this card to soul. Choose one of your Vanguards until end of the turn. When your card in your drop zone be chosen by that unit's act ability, choose 2 instead of 1. We'll get to why that's important later, but long story short, this plus this, sorry, that's the wrong thing. Yeah, that plus this equals double crit, plus this just to get more numbers. If your opponent's at grade 2, this essentially guarantees you game, or very close to it almost immediately, because she also goes to soul. All around, very good grade 2. She does her job well. 4 of, we'll get to the combo later. Then we have 4 copies of Dearly Flowers Elise, grade 2 and set 5k shield, 10k base, continues rear guard. During the battle, this unit attack a grade 3 or greater unit. She'll get plus 5,000 power, so it doesn't matter if it's a Vanguard or rear guard she swings into, she just gets the 5k regardless, so she'd be at 15k swing. Then auto, when she's placed on rear guard circle from your drop by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard Mediell in this card name, this unit gets auto rear guard and about that your Vanguard attack. Soul Blast will stay in this unit until end of the turn. See why it's kind of important? You call her and maybe you use her skill to, you know, send copies of this to the drop zone so you can guaranteedly get that restand regardless of what grade your opponent's Vanguard is at? Yeah. Restanding. Fun. This grade 2 is really good if you play it right and if you get the right opening for it. So, 4 of Elise. Very solid grade 2. I like her skill a lot. Multi-attack, 5k. Like, on her own, power-wise, she's not the greatest, but, you know, there are such a things as persona rides, that skill, this skill, all the skills, stacking triggers with these guys, and maybe even knowing that you're going to see a trigger off of her skill. So, yeah, 4 of Elise. By the way, speaking of stacking triggers, Making Smiles, Bloom, Mediell, our final grade 2, one of them in the right deck and in the main deck, grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base. Auto, when wrote upon by a grade 3 with Mediell in its card name, check top 3, choose up to 1 from among them, put it to top, send the rest to drop. I used to not like this card because of, like, how this grade 3 in particular worked, but, yeah, stacking a trigger to top, then turning it into a normal unit with this, then proceeding to have 2 of these in drop zone, maybe even this, who knows, but then using this skill, after you of course use this skill on that skill, but then you use that skill to call out these 2 from drop, give them extra critical, get restanders, give them more numbers, and then guaranteedly sack the trigger that you stacked with this skill earlier. Good one of in the ride deck. Stacking 1 card does not sound like a lot, but if you stack a crit while you already have 2 double crit restanders coming out, oh yeah, your opponent's in for one hell of a time. Or a front trigger. Stack a crit or a front and you're probably set for game. So one of Mediell in the ride deck. She's just a very nice support card. She's just good. So one of her in there. Then we have our grade 3s, 3 copies of Fondue Soulless Mediell, grade 3 10% 13k base. This is 3 copies in the main deck, by the way, none of them are in the ride deck. Act Vanguard, once per turn, CB2, reveal the top card, perform one of the following according to the type. Normal unit, put the reveal card into your hand, and then choose a card from your drop zone, call it to rearguard circle, and that called unit gets a crit for the turn. So a single unit gets a crit, but A, you do get, well, a single unit gets a crit and you get the call card, and you at least get the card back to your hand. Or trigger unit, countercharge one is dead, so it's just a CB1, and then choose a card from your drop zone, call it to rearguard, and then you get the trigger back. So either you get a hand card, which could be a PG or a Persona Ride or something like that, you get a rear guard and you get a crit, or you pay 1 less CB for it, you get a guaranteed trigger on your drive check, and you get a rear guard, but you don't get the extra crit, unless, you know, your trigger is a crit. But, anyway, though, Mediell is a solid grade 3. Like, don't get me wrong, she's consistent. She, regardless, is getting you a rear guard to bore. It's just the difference is you're either going to pay 1 less CB for it and get a trigger out of it, or you're going to pay 1 more CB for it, but you're going to get a hand card and an inherent crit into it. So, either way, she's a solid grade 3. She's not the most amazing, and there's a reason why she's the one in the main deck, but she is here for a reason in case you want the alternate Persona Ride skill, so 3 of her. Then we have Constellate Soulless Mediell. Grade 3, Twin Drive, Persona Ride, 13k base. Dress Up Fondue Soulless Mediell. During this fight, she is regarded as a specified card, so in deck building you can have them both at max copies and they won't compete with each other, but then when in fight, they are the same card, so you can Persona Ride them on top of each other, so if this is already your Vanguard, you can place it on top of this. Also, if it wasn't clear, this is the ride deck one of, so one of the ride deck, 3 of in the main deck. Continuous Vanguard. During your turn, if you have a drop zone has a Mediell in its card name, all your firm will get 5,000 power. Not that hard, so that's the other reason why she's here. You know, more ways to send her to drop zone from either, you know, randomly drawing her in the opening and then discarding her for ride deck, or Kukruvi sends her there, or this sends her there. You just find some way to get her into drop zone. Or, you know, you just send her there via soul blasting because you had to send her to soul from Neon's skill, and then you just yeet her out with Ellie's skill. But then the other effect, or you just send her out from with the skill, and the other effect, Act Vanguard, once per turn. CB1, Soul Blast 1. Choose a card from your drop zone, call it to rear guard, reveal the top card. If it's a normal unit, draw a card, so the card goes to your hand, and the unit called by this effect gets a crit for the turn. Okay, just seems like a combination of this ability, honestly. But, here's something to remember, and this is the combo we're about to go over. And this, again, this combo I pulled off, no practice, on my first game with this deck. Shove this into Soul. We'll get to grade 3. Shove this into Soul. Have 2 of these in drop. Maybe the Mediell. This part is not important, but these 2 need to be in drop zone. Send this to Soul. Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1. Doesn't matter what you Soul Blast, but if you have this in Soul, Soul Blast that. Call out these 2 from drop zone because Nolia can make you target 2 of them. And then you flip your top card. By the way, if this is not required for the combo, but if you want to call it, you can call it because, to be fair, you are stacking the top card with this one, but if you want to call this because maybe you saw a trigger there, then call it. But either way, guarantee that your thing's a normal unit, then you flip the top card, is obviously a normal unit, but if it's a trigger, it doesn't matter. If you call it that grade 1, you add the card to your hand, you give both called units an extra critical. By the way, the card's added to the hand because it's a draw, and because you're revealing it, you know, since the next card just goes to hand regardless. Anyways, both these units get a critical, they swing, you make your columns, whatever, they swing, doesn't matter if they get 5k or not, your opponent guards, let's assume for our sake of argument they're at grade 2, you swing with Mediell, doesn't matter what they do, at the end of this battle you Soul Blast 2, both these stand. 2 attackers, double crit each, both restand, 4 attacks in all, technically 5 attacks in all, 4 of which having double critical. And if you have a Mediell in drop zone with her skill, and you have these in those same columns, those are total 20k columns, which doesn't sound like much, but the fact that your opponent has to guard them. Yeah. As an aggro player, I gotta say, I hate the fact that Mediell is one that I like now, because I really didn't like Mediell originally. But as an aggro player, I gotta appreciate the fact that we can do that while the opponent's at grade 2. None of those skills are restricted to the opponent being at grade 3. The only part of that entire combo that requires the opponent to be at grade 3 is this part, which is completely optional. everything else you can pull off while your opponent's at grade 2. And you know, if you can do this going second too, it's just a lot funnier to do it while your opponent's at grade 2. 5k to front row, that's non-conditional regardless, as long as you have a Mediell and drop zone. At least one rear guard you're getting out of it that possibly has an extra crit and a possible free draw to you, or you're just guaranteed a trigger stack on top. And if you play it with the combo, because I keep saying, and I'm going to say it one more time, 2 rear guards that both restand, both with double crit, so you get a total of 5 attacks that turn, 4 of which having crits on them, and you're probably going to have a 5th one that has a crit on it because inherent crit pressure with Vanguard drive checks. 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck. You can Persona ride this on top of this, but you are never going to in any way of right mind unless you have no soul and you have 2 CB. And without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. This deck is incredibly stupid. It's fun to play. What it does is BS, beyond compare. You are just actively calling stuff out the wazoo, getting crit pressure on the board, and it's just great of what you can do with this. I don't think I need to explain any more than what I already have, because I mean, even Bushy released this combo when the deck was first released. So on this one here, I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to touch. I'll see you all on this one. Don't forget to set up your vanguards.